Komatsu, along with all other construction equipment manufacturers, has devoted years and hundreds of millions of dollars to keep pace with the EPA's Tier 1, 2, 3, and Tier 4 interim mandated emission standards. Now we are at Tier 4 Final. Let's look at how Komatsu's Tier 4 Final solution is built on the well-proven technology and components used to achieve previous emission levels. Komatsu's high-pressure common rail fuel injection ensures atomization of the fuel for complete combustion and greater efficiency. On engines which produce more than 150 horsepower, a Komatsu diesel particulate filter, or KDPF, removes particulate matter from the exhaust stream. The KDPF is made up of two components, a diesel oxidation catalyst, or DOC, which is a flow-through device that oxidizes carbon monoxide and unburnt and partially burnt fuel to carbon dioxide and water vapor, and a diesel particulate filter, or DPF, which collects soot until the soot is oxidized into CO2 through a process called regeneration. Komatsu engines below 150 horsepower only require a DOC to meet requirements. There are two types of regeneration: passive and active. Passive regeneration occurs during normal operation as the Tier 4 technology reduces exhaust emissions. Active regeneration takes place when the soot buildup gets too high and the Komatsu Variable Geometry Turbocharger, or KVGT, raises exhaust temperature to assist in converting soot into CO2 and water vapor. Komatsu engines usually run 90% of their operating time in passive mode and the remainder in active mode. Unlike some competitors, however, Komatsu machines do not have to stop working during passive or active regeneration, so they keep producing and making money. The KVGT is hydraulically controlled, which makes it very precise and variable. For the regeneration process, the KVGT is used to control the temperature of the exhaust gas going into the KDPF. By creating a restriction, the KVGT can raise the exhaust gas temperature, which will help oxidize the soot trapped in the KDPF. Cooled exhaust gas recirculation, or EGR, recycles and cools the combustion chambers for decreased NOx production. And finally, the Komatsu Closed Crankcase Ventilation Filter, or KCCV, recirculates any oil or crankcase gas that previously was vented to the atmosphere or ground back into the oil sump or into the air intake to be burned in the cylinders. All this technology was created to provide a solid base on which to build Tier 4 Final. Remember that Komatsu was able to incorporate this emission technology into its motors while reducing fuel consumption. Also recall that whether the machine is in passive or active regeneration modes, the Komatsu Tier 4 machines just keep on working. Now let's look at what's new for Tier 4 Final. The main concept is simple. Dose or inject a reducing fluid into the exhaust stream after the KDPF to decompose NOx through a chemical reaction to water vapor and nitrogen. The process is called selective catalytic reduction, or SCR, and uses AdBlue DEF, also known as diesel exhaust fluid, or DEF. The SCR is mounted after the KDPF. A DEF mixing tube connects the KDPF and the SCR. The SCR resembles a muffler and generally is slightly smaller than the KDPF. Small metered amounts of DEF are injected into the mixing tube to decompose under heat to form ammonia gas, which mixes with the NOx components of the exhaust stream coming out of the KDPF. This mixture then enters the SCR assembly, where it passes over special catalysts that convert it into water vapor and nitrogen, both harmless to the environment. Any ammonia remaining from the DEF is oxidized in the second part of the SCR, called the ammonia oxidizing catalyst, or AMOX. This process results in the release of very little ammonia or CO2. The amount of DEF used will vary, but Komatsu's DEF tanks are designed to be filled once for every 2 complete fuel tank fills. Actual DEF use is at or less than 2.5% of fuel used. With fuel savings from new engine technology and management and lower DEF cost, the addition of DEF is actually fluid neutral to the system. The term fluid neutral indicates that the amount of fluid, both fuel and DEF, as well as the fluid cost, is equal to or less than the fluid use and cost of the previous model. Fuel efficiency will vary with each model, but the target was 2.5% reduction, and that target was met or exceeded on most models. The DEF tank is plastic and has a blue cap to avoid confusion with a fuel tank. The DEF tank and fill port are enclosed in a panel or box for security, but also easy service access. Lines from the engine circulate engine coolant through the fluid in the DEF tank when the ambient temperature is below 32 degrees Fahrenheit to ensure that the DEF will flow properly. In addition, the DEF lines to the supply pump and out to the mixing tube are all electrically heated with a wrap to ensure flow. If the ambient temperature drops below minus 13 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 25 degrees Celsius, the DEF system will shut itself off. Because the correct mix is very important for the proper functioning of the SCR system, an ultrasonic scanner in the DEF tank monitors the chemical makeup of the solution and will shut the system down if the solution is not correct. DEF level is indicated by a new bar gauge on the right side of the color monitor. It is important that the DEF tank is not run down to empty. If the DEF sensor detects that there is no fluid in the tank, it will send a signal to the engine controller to reduce engine RPM and power. For additional fuel savings and emissions reduction, auto idle shutdown has been added to Tier 4 final tracked machines. This feature will shut the engine down after a predetermined time if the engine is running and the hydraulic lock lever is locking out hydraulic functions. The auto idle shutdown feature is turned off at the factory and needs to be activated by the operator or owner through the monitor. Idle time to shut down increments from 1 to 60 minutes can be programmed into the computer. To further reduce environmental impact, lead-free bushings are used on all oil pumps and no chlorinated hoses are used. Komatsu has designed its Tier 4 final solution to meet or exceed the most stringent emissions requirements yet, while saving fuel and, most importantly, keeping Komatsu machines producing throughout the entire workday. Tier 4 Final hasn't slowed down Komatsu construction equipment. Don't let your customers think it has to slow them down either.